Hi everybody, Director of Tennis Stephen here from the Clearwater Bay Golf and Country Club. Today I'm going to talk about the tennis racket and the different parts of it in the hope to explain a little bit more about what you might want to look for when choosing your next racket. Firstly, the racket head, measured in square inches. Typically racket heads can vary from 90 square inches, which Roger Federer used to use, up into something like 110 square inches, which more the recreational player uses. So this one here is 110, this one's 98, so maybe you can see a slight difference there. The advantage of a bigger racket head, obviously, is you've got a bigger surface area, so it makes it easier for you to hit. The disadvantage would be that it is less maneuverable. You're holding a big, chunky racket, and it's harder to get the racket to the right place. So as you become a better player, then you tend to go to a smaller racket head. Next part of the racket we can talk about is actually the strings itself. String patterns, these are the main strings, and they can start from anywhere from 16 main strings up until 18 or sometimes even 19. The cross ones, typically anywhere from 18 to 20. So the less or fewer strings you have on the racket, you get more of a trampoline effect. So you'll get a little bit more power, and also you get more bite on the ball, so you can get more spin. This is a 16 by 19. This racket here is a 18 by 20. The strings are closer together, so you're not going to get as much power, but therefore you might get a little bit more control. Another part of the racket to talk about is the thickness of the racket. This is thinner. This is a little wider. And again, a wider racket will get you a potentially stronger hit. A weaker one, a little bit more flexibility, but then you might get a bit more control. Another specification on rackets is the weight of the racket. This is a lighter racket at about 270 grams. This one here is 305, and the professionals might go up to about 330 grams plus. The advantages: a lighter racket, easier again to maneuver, so better for the recreational and beginner players. Heavier rackets, harder to maneuver, but the athletes can handle that. But when you go and hit the ball, you get a little bit more impact, or a little bit more stability on impact, so the players like to get that feel. So that's the definition. That's the difference between a light and a heavy racket. Balance of a racket, that can also affect the feel of the way you play. If I put my finger here in the middle of the racket and I let it go, roughly balanced, evenly balanced racket. This one here, you can see it's a little bit more head heavy. So if the weight is more in the head, it'll feel heavier, and then you get a little bit more stability when you hit. If it was heavy at the base, it would be very light at the front, so you'd be fishing around a little bit more. It'll be quick to get to the ball, but then when you hit that ball, it may not feel as solid. The length of the racket. Typically, adult rackets are 27 inches long. That's a 27-inch one. This one here, an extra half an inch. Most people play with a 27-inch. 27.5 inches give you a little bit more length, and so on those wide balls, that can be a potential advantage. Maybe on a serve, you get a little bit more leverage, a bit more of an arc, so you can get a little bit more power. But potentially on a closer ball, when the ball comes at you at the net, when you get jammed up on a volley, that might be a bit difficult to hit. So pros and cons there too. I guess the last thing we can talk about is the grip size. If you like this racket and you want to play with it, everyone's got a different sized hand. A nice way to figure out what's good for you is to grab the racket, and if you can slip a pinky finger between the fingers and the meaty part of your palm and your thumb there, that's a good indication that's a good grip size for you. If you're holding the racket this way and you can fit a couple of fingers in there, that's obviously too big. And if the grip was like this and you've got your fingers wrapped around your thumb, that's probably a little bit too small. So there you have it. Different parts of the racket to help you decide what might suit your game. But the best advice we can give you is it's always better to try before you buy. Ask a friend to borrow their racket. Maybe the coach can also give you some rackets to try, or come to the club in one of our demo days. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful to you, and we look forward to seeing you at the club very soon.